The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, crystal shards scattering like fallen stars across the penthouse ballroom. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan glittered beneath a dusting of snow, oblivious to the devastation unfolding 60 stories above. Maya Chen stood frozen, her borrowed silver gown suddenly feeling like a costume she had no right to wear. 10 seconds. That's all it took for her world to crack apart. 10 seconds of watching the man she loved, the man who'd promised her everything, kiss another woman as the countdown to midnight echoed through the crowd. 10, 9, 8. But let me take you back to where this story truly begins. 23 days ago, on a Christmas morning that would change everything. Maya had exactly $47 in her checking account when she collided with Dominic Cross outside Bergdorf Goodman. The impact sent her carefully wrapped packages, gifts for the kids at the youth center where she volunteered, tumbling across the snow-dusted sidewalk. "I'm so sorry, I wasn't—" She looked up and forgot to finish the sentence. He was tall, perhaps 6'2", with dark hair touched with silver at the temples and eyes the color of expensive scotch. His charcoal coat probably cost more than her annual salary as an elementary school teacher. But it wasn't his obvious wealth that stopped her breath. It was the exhaustion carved into his handsome features, the weight of something she recognized, loneliness wearing a $1,000 suit. "My fault entirely," he said, already kneeling to retrieve her scattered gifts. His movements were efficient, practiced, like everything in his life had been choreographed for maximum efficiency. I wasn't watching where I was going. "Story of my life." Maya bent down to help, their hands brushing over a poorly wrapped teddy bear. The impact sent an unexpected jolt through her, electric and unsettling. He held up the bear, one eyebrow raised with the hint of a smile. "Your wrapping skills need work." "My gift-giving heart is what counts." She snatched it back, feeling her cheeks warm despite the December cold. "The kids don't care if the paper's crooked." "The kids?" Something shifted in his expression, a crack in the carefully maintained facade. "I volunteer at Hope House Youth Center in Queens. Christmas is, well, it's the one day they should feel special, you know?" She stood, brushing snow from her coat, second-hand but clean and warm. "Not that you'd understand, probably." His jaw tightened. "You'd be surprised what I understand about lonely holidays." The vulnerability in those words caught her off guard. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed insistently. He glanced at the screen, and just like that, the walls went back up. The CEO mask slid firmly into place. "I have a meeting," he said, suddenly distant, professional. "Again, my apologies." He walked away without looking back, and Maya told herself she was relieved. Men like that, wealthy, powerful, untouchable, they lived in a different universe, one where teachers from Queens didn't belong. She had no way of knowing he'd stopped at the corner, pulled out his phone, and made a call that would alter both their lives. "Richard, that youth center in Queens, Hope House, I want a full background check and financial records by tonight, and find out who runs their volunteer program." 3 days later, Maya stared at the check in disbelief. $50,000, made out to Hope House Youth Center, signed by Dominic Cross, CEO of Cross Enterprises. "This has to be a mistake," she told Mrs. Rodriguez, the center's director, whose hands trembled as she held the accompanying letter. "It's not a mistake, mija. He wants to fund our entire winter program. New computers, art supplies, a kitchen renovation so we can teach cooking classes." Mrs. Rodriguez's voice broke. "After 3 years of barely keeping the lights on, this is a miracle." Maya felt something twist in her chest, gratitude mixed with suspicion. In her experience, wealthy men didn't give without expecting something in return. The phone call came that evening while she was grading papers in her tiny studio apartment in Astoria. "Miss Chen, this is Jennifer from Mr. Cross's office. He'd like to invite you to lunch tomorrow to discuss the youth center's needs." "I don't think—" He's quite insistent. 1 o'clock at Per Se, a car will collect you at noon. The line went dead before Maya could protest. Per Se was the kind of restaurant that Maya didn't belong, where the menu had no prices and the waiters moved like dancers. She'd worn her best dress, a simple navy sheath she'd found at a thrift store, and felt underdressed the moment she walked in. Dominic stood when she approached, his charcoal suit perfectly tailored, but his eyes, they held the same exhaustion she'd seen on Christmas morning, and something else. Interest. Real, undisguised interest. "Thank you for coming," he said, pulling out her chair himself rather than letting the waiter do it. "I know this is unorthodox." "Unorthodox would be meeting at a coffee shop," Maya replied, settling into her seat with as much dignity as she could muster. "This is intimidating." A genuine smile crossed his face, transforming it entirely. "Good. I was going for impressive, but I'll take intimidating." "Why did you donate to Hope House?" She decided to skip the politenesses. "And please don't tell me it was just Christmas spirit." He leaned back, studying her with those amber eyes. "You want honesty?" "Always." "You reminded me of someone. My mother, actually. She was a teacher before she married my father. Used to say that education was the only real gift you could give a child because no one could take it away." His voice dropped. "She died when I was 12. After that, my father threw himself into building his empire, and I learned that love was unprofitable, a distraction from success." The raw pain in his words made Maya's throat tight. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I built Cross Enterprises into a multi-billion-dollar corporation by the time I was 35. I have everything money can buy." He paused, his gaze holding hers. "But when I crashed into you on that sidewalk and you looked at me like I was just a clumsy stranger who'd knocked over your packages, I realized I couldn't remember the last time someone saw me as just a man. Not a bank account, not a merger opportunity, just me." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. This was dangerous. This feeling of connection with someone so far outside her world. So the donation was what? A way to see me again? The donation was genuine. Hope House does important work. But yes, I hoped you'd come. He reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. "Have dinner with me, not business, just two people sharing a meal. Mr. Cross. Dominic, please." Dominic. His name felt dangerous on her tongue. "We're from different worlds, you know that. I know that you made me feel something in 30 seconds that I haven't felt in 15 years. I know that you're the first person I've wanted to know in longer than I can remember. And I know that if I let you walk away, I'll regret it for the rest of my life." Before we continue with Maya's answer, and trust me, what happens next will surprise you, I want to know where you're watching from. Are you team Maya should run or team give the billionaire a chance? Drop your location and thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe because this story is about to get incredibly complicated. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss part 2, where secrets start unraveling and someone from Dominic's past threatens everything. Now, back to that restaurant. Maya said yes. Against every instinct screaming that this was a terrible idea, she said yes. Their first real date was nothing she expected. No 5-star restaurants or private jets. Dominic picked her up in a surprisingly normal BMW, though she suspected it cost more than her apartment building, and drove them to a small Italian place in Brooklyn. "My mother used to bring me here," he explained as they slid into a worn vinyl booth. "The owner, Mrs. Castelli, she still makes the same marinara sauce from her grandmother's recipe." An elderly woman appeared, took one look at Dominic, and burst into rapid Italian, pulling him into a fierce hug. He responded in fluent Italian, his entire demeanor transforming. Softer, younger, real. "She says I'm too skinny and work too much," he translated with a sheepish grin. "She's not wrong." Over pasta that actually melted in Maya's mouth and cheap wine that tasted better than expensive champagne, Maya learned about the boy behind the billionaire, how his mother used to read him bedtime stories about knights and dragons, how his father's grief had turned cold and calculating after her death, turning their home into a training ground for corporate warfare. He wanted me to be ruthless, to see every relationship as a transaction, every person as either an asset or a liability. And for years, I believed him. I built walls so high that even I couldn't see over them anymore. "What changed?" Maya asked softly. "I turned 40 last month, sat alone in my penthouse with a bottle of scotch, and realized I'd built an empire but forgotten to build a life. Then I crashed into you, and you looked at me like I was just some clumsy stranger who'd knocked over your packages. I realized I couldn't remember the last time someone saw me as just a man, not a bank account, not a merger opportunity, just me." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. This was dangerous, this feeling of connection with someone so far outside her world. So the donation was what? A way to see me again? The donation was genuine. Hope House does important work. But yes, I hoped you'd come. He reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. "Have dinner with me, not business, just two people sharing a meal. Mr. Cross. Dominic, please." Dominic. His name felt dangerous on her tongue. "We're from different worlds, you know that. I know that you made me feel something in 30 seconds that I haven't felt in 15 years. I know that you're the first person I've wanted to know in longer than I can remember. And I know that if I let you walk away, I'll regret it for the rest of my life." The next 2 weeks were a dream Maya kept waking up from. Dominic didn't just text or call, he showed up. At the youth center, helping kids with their homework. At her school, surprising her with coffee during her lunch break. At her apartment building, carrying groceries because he'd noticed her struggling up the stairs. He was attentive without being controlling, generous without being condescending. He asked about her students by name, remembered that she was worried about Miguel's reading scores, donated new books to her classroom without making a production of it. But it was the small moments that destroyed her defenses completely. Like when he fell asleep on her second-hand couch, exhausted from a week of negotiations in Tokyo, his head in her lap while she graded papers. The powerful CEO looked vulnerable in sleep, younger, like he could breathe for the first time in years. Or when he cooked dinner in her tiny kitchen, because apparently his mother had taught him before she died, and they ended up covered in flour, laughing like teenagers instead of a teacher and a billionaire. "You're different here," Maya observed, watching him expertly flip pancakes on a Sunday morning. When had he started staying over? When had this become normal? "I'm myself here," he corrected, plating their breakfast with expected skill. "Everywhere else, I'm performing, being the shark they expect, the ruthless CEO who never shows weakness." He set the plates down and cupped her face with both hands. "With you, I can just be Dominic, the guy who burns toast and can't fold fitted sheets and thinks about you every second we're apart." Maya's heart stuttered. Every second? Every single second. He kissed her then, soft and deep, tasting like maple syrup and promises. "You're under my skin, Maya Chen, and I don't want to recover." She pulled him closer, losing herself in the kiss, in this impossible man who'd stumbled into her life and turned everything upside down. They made love that morning, with winter sunlight streaming through her apartment windows, slow and tender, learning each other's bodies like they were memorizing a language only they could speak. Dominic touched her like she was precious, irreplaceable, whispering her name like a prayer against her skin. Afterward, wrapped in her sheets, he traced the curve of her shoulder with infinite gentleness. "I'm falling in love with you," he said quietly. "I know it's too soon. I know we should wait to say these things. But life taught me that tomorrow isn't guaranteed, and I don't want to waste another second not telling you that you've become the most important person in my world." Maya's eyes burned with unshed tears. "Dominic." "You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Whatever this is between us, wherever it goes, you've already changed me. made me remember who I was supposed to be before I became what everyone expected. I'm falling too, Maya admitted, her voice breaking, and it terrifies me because men like you don't end up with women like me, not in real life. This feels like a fairy tale, and fairy tales have happy endings, he interrupted firmly. I'm not going anywhere, Maya. I don't care about our different worlds. We'll build a new one together. She wanted desperately to believe him. The first crack appeared 3 days before New Year's Eve, at a charity gala Dominic had invited her to attend. Maya had stressed about what to wear until Dominic sent a personal stylist to her apartment with an array of designer gowns. She'd felt like Cinderella trying them on, finally selecting a midnight blue dress that made her feel almost like she belonged in his world. Almost. The moment they entered the ballroom, Dominic, devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo, his hand warm and reassuring on her lower back, Maya felt the stares. Curious, judgmental, calculating. Ignore them, Dominic murmured, steering her toward the bar. They're just surprised I brought someone who isn't interested in my portfolio. But it was hard to ignore the whispers, the way conversations stopped when they approached, the polite smiles that didn't reach people's eyes. Dominic, darling, a woman glided toward them, all sharp edges and expensive perfume, platinum blonde hair, blood-red lips, a white gown that probably cost more than Maya's annual salary. I heard you'd finally emerged from your hibernation. Victoria. Dominic's tone cooled noticeably. Maya, this is Victoria Ashford. We went to boarding school together. And we're engaged, Victoria added with a smile like cut glass. Briefly, until Dominic decided marriage wasn't profitable enough for his 5-year plan. Maya's stomach dropped. That was 15 years ago, Dominic said tightly. We were children. We were 25 and in love. Or I was, anyway. Victoria's gaze slid at Maya with barely concealed contempt. And you are? Maya Chen. I'm a teacher, Victoria finished, her tone making the word sound like an insult. Yes, word travels fast. Everyone's been absolutely buzzing about Dominic's little charity project. Charity project? Maya's voice came out smaller than she intended. Dominic, darling, Dominic warned, but the woman wasn't finished. Oh, don't be modest, darling. Your generosity is admirable. Funding that little center in Queens, taking the teacher to lunch, making her feel special. It's very noble of you. Though I suppose even billionaires need tax write-offs. The implication hit Maya like a physical blow. Was that what this was? Some kind of elaborate charitable exercise? That's enough. Dominic's voice could cut steel. Maya, let's go. Actually, I need some air, Maya interrupted, already backing away. The ballroom suddenly felt suffocating, the curious stares burning into her skin. She fled before he could stop her, pushing through the crowd toward the terrace, her vision blurring with tears she refused to shed in front of these people. The December air hit her like a slap, cold and clarifying. She gripped the railing, overlooking Central Park, blanketed in snow, trying to breathe through the panic crushing her chest. Tax write-off, charity project, little teacher. Maya. She didn't turn, couldn't face him yet. Is she right? Is this just some kind of rehabilitation of your image? The cold-hearted CEO learns to care about the little people? Look at me. His hand settled on her shoulders, warm and steady. She resisted for a moment before turning to face him. His expression was fierce, urgent, raw with emotion. Victoria is bitter because I broke her heart 15 years ago when I realized I didn't love her enough to build a life with her. She married a hedge fund manager 6 months later and has spent the last decade and a half pretending she doesn't regret it. That doesn't answer my question. My feelings for you have nothing to do with tax write-offs or image rehabilitation or any other cynical explanation people want to assign to them. He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. You are not a charity project, Maya. You're the woman who makes me want to be better, who makes me feel alive for the first time in years, who I'm falling more in love with every single day. But she's right about one thing, Maya whispered. We're from different worlds. Everyone in there knows it. They're probably laying bets on how long before you come to your senses and return to your regularly scheduled life. Then let them bet. His thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped despite her best efforts. Because I'm not going anywhere, Maya. I don't care about our different worlds. We'll build a new one together. She wanted desperately to believe him. Promise me something, she said, her voice breaking. Anything. If this becomes too hard, if you wake up one day and realize I don't fit into your life, promise me you'll tell me. Don't let me keep falling if there's no future here. Something flickered across his face. Pain. Uncertainty. It was gone in an instant, replaced with fierce determination, but Maya saw it, that moment of doubt that confirmed her worst fears. I promise, he said, pulling her into his arms, burying her face in his chest, breathing in his scent, sandalwood and winter air, and tried to silence the voice in her head whispering that beautiful things never lasted. Not for girls like her. Come to my New Year's Eve party. They were back in Maya's apartment, tangled in her sheets after leaving the gala early. Dominic traced patterns on her bare shoulder, his voice soft in the darkness. Your party? Maya propped herself up on one elbow, studying his face in the dim light filtering through her windows. I host one every year. Business associates, old friends, people I'm supposed to care about impressing. He pulled her closer. This year, I want you there. I want to kiss you at midnight in front of everyone. Make it official that you're mine and I'm yours. Official? Maya repeated, something warm and terrifying blooming in her chest. Unless you'd rather spend New Year's Eve at home with Netflix and cheap champagne. That does sound appealing, she teased, but her heart was racing. This felt like a line they were about to cross. His world meeting hers, their impossible romance going public. Please, he kissed her shoulder, her neck, working his way to her jaw. Let me show them what you mean to me. Let me start the new year with the only person who matters. Maya closed her eyes, fighting against the tidal wave of fear and hope warring in her chest. Okay, yes, I'll come to your party. His smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. You won't regret it, I promise. But as he kissed her again, slow and deep, neither of them could have known that promise was about to shatter into 1,000 pieces, because Victoria Ashford had already set her plan in motion. December 31st arrived with deceptive calm. Maya spent the day at Hope House, helping the kids prepare their New Year's resolutions, trying not to think about the evening ahead. You're nervous, Mrs. Rodriguez observed, as they cleaned up construction paper and markers. About the party? That obvious? Maya attempted a smile. The older woman squeezed her shoulder. Mija, I've seen the way that man looks at you, like you hung the moon and stars. Whatever happens tonight, remember that. But as the hired car picked Maya up that evening, because apparently Dominic had insisted, wanting her to feel pampered, her anxiety multiplied. The dress he'd sent was stunning, silver silk that cascaded like liquid starlight, with a neckline that was daring without being scandalous. She felt like a fraud playing princess, even as the stylist assured her she looked perfect. The penthouse was already glittering with guests when she arrived, Manhattan's elites sipping champagne and networking beneath chandeliers that cost more than her school's annual budget. Maya clutched her small purse like a lifeline, scanning the crowd for Dominic's familiar face. There you are, his voice wrapped around her like velvet. She turned to find him cutting through the crowd, devastating in a midnight blue suit that matched her dress. Had he planned that? His eyes lit with unmistakable joy. You look breathtaking." "I feel terrified," she admitted as he reached her. "Don't be." He took her hand, raising it to his lips in a gesture that felt both old-fashioned and utterly romantic. "You belong here, with me. I don't care what anyone else thinks." He kept her close as he navigated the party, introducing her to business partners and old friends with unmistakable pride in his voice. "This is Maya Chen, the most important person in my life. Not my girlfriend, not someone I'm seeing, the most important person in my life." Each introduction chipped away at Maya's anxiety, replacing it with something dangerously close to hope. Maybe this could work. Maybe their different worlds could merge into something new and beautiful. Then she saw Victoria Ashford across the room, watching them with a smile that sent ice down Maya's spine. "Excuse me for just a moment," Dominic said, squeezing Maya's hand apologetically. "I need to speak with Thomas about the Tokyo merger. 5 minutes, I promise." He kissed her temple and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Maya alone near the windows overlooking the glittering city. "Champagne?" A waiter appeared at her elbow. "Thank you." She took the glass gratefully, sipping the expensive bubbles and trying to look like she belonged among Manhattan's elite. "Maya, isn't it?" A man approached, mid-40s, impeccably dressed, with calculating eyes. "James Holloway. I'm Dominic's chief financial officer." "Nice to meet you." "Walk with me a moment?" He gestured towards the hallway, leading away from the main party. "There's something you should know about tonight." Every instinct screamed at Maya not to follow, but curiosity and dread pulled her forward. James led her to a small study off the main hallway, closing the door behind them. "What is this about?" Maya asked, her heart beginning to race. James pulled out his phone, tapping the screen before holding it to her. "I'm sorry to show you this, but you deserve to know the truth." Maya stared at the email thread on the screen, her blood running cold as she read. From Dominic Cross to Victoria Ashford. Subject, the plan. Victoria, I appreciate your patience with this arrangement. As we discussed, the relationship with Miss Chen has been valuable for rehabilitating my public image. The press has been eating up the ruthless billionaire finds his heart narrative. However, as I mentioned at the gala, I believe we've reached the point where we can transition back to our original plan. After tonight's announcement, I'll handle the situation with Miss Chen delicately. She's a kind person and doesn't deserve to be hurt, but business is business. The merger with Ashford Industries is too valuable to let personal complications interfere. I look forward to starting the new year with the only person who matters, you. The phone slipped from Maya's numb fingers. The room spun sickeningly around her. "I'm sorry," James said, his voice seemingly far away. "I thought you should know before whatever he's planning to announce at midnight." Maya didn't remember walking back to the party. Her body moved on autopilot, her mind trapped in an endless loop of denial and devastation. Business is business. The relationship has been valuable for rehabilitating my public image. She doesn't deserve to be hurt, but that word destroyed her. She found Dominic by the windows, laughing at something an older gentleman was saying. He looked so relaxed, so happy, so completely different from the man who'd apparently written that email. Which version was real? The tender lover who'd whispered promises in the dark? Or the cold businessman who'd seen her as nothing more than a PR opportunity? "Maya!" Dominic's face lit up when he saw her. "Perfect timing. I want to introduce you to—" He stopped, his smile faltering as he took in her expression. "What's wrong?" "I need to speak with you. Privately." Something flickered across his face. Concern, confusion, but he immediately excused himself and followed her to an empty corner of the terrace. The December air was biting, but Maya barely felt it through the numbness. "What happened?" Dominic reached for her, but she stepped back. "Is it true?" Her voice sounded strange, disconnected. "Was I just part of some plan? A way to improve your image before you went back to Victoria and merged your companies?" His face went white. "What are you talking about?"
James Holloway showed me an email from you to Victoria, detailing exactly how you've been using me. Each word felt like swallowing glass. That's impossible. I never. Dominic pulled out his phone, his hands actually shaking as he scrolled through his sent messages. There's no email like that. Maya, whatever you saw. Don't. She held up a hand, tears finally breaking free. Don't make this worse by lying. I saw it. Your email address, your words, how you were going to handle the situation with Miss Chen delicately after tonight's announcement. She laughed bitterly. What were you planning to announce, Dominic? Your engagement to Victoria? Thanks for the memories? Sorry about using you? None of that is true. His voice rose with desperation. Maya, I swear to you, I never wrote that email. Someone is setting us up. Of course someone is setting us up, Maya interrupted, her voice breaking. Victoria told me at the gala. She warned me that I didn't belong in your world. And she was right, wasn't she? I was so stupid to think this could be real. It is real. Dominic gripped her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. Everything between us is real. I don't know who sent that email or how they spoofed my address, but I would never... Mr. Cross? A woman's voice interrupted them. They both turned to find Dominic's assistant, looking uncomfortable. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are guests asking about the midnight announcement. Should I prepare the microphone? Maya's stomach dropped. What announcement? Dominic's jaw clenched. That's not... I wasn't going to... Oh my God! Maya backed away, everything clicking into horrible place. There really is an announcement? What is it, Dominic? What were you planning to tell everyone at midnight? It's not what you think. Then tell me. Her voice cracked. Tell me right now what you are planning to announce in front of all your important friends. The seconds stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Dominic's face was anguished, torn, and in that hesitation, Maya found her answer. I was going to ask you to move in with me, he finally said, the words tumbling out in a rush. I had architects draw up plans to convert part of my penthouse into a library and art space, somewhere you could grade papers and work on your teaching materials. I wanted to announce that I'm establishing a foundation in my mother's name to fund education programs across the city, and I wanted you to run it. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket with trembling hands. And I was going to ask you to marry me. Hold on. I need you to pause this and tell me what you're thinking right now. Is the email real? Is Dominic telling the truth? Who do you think is behind this betrayal? Drop your theories in the comments because this story is about to take a turn no one expects. And if you're feeling the heartbreak right alongside Maya, make sure you're subscribed because the next chapter will either restore your faith in love or shatter it completely. Maya stared at the ring box, her world tilting on its axis. You were going to propose? I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 3 weeks, but I've never been more certain of anything. Dominic's voice was raw, desperate. Maya, I love you. Not as some image rehabilitation project, not as a tax write-off. I love you because you make me want to be the man my mother believed I could be. Then explain the email. I can't. Frustration and pain warred across his features, but I can prove it's fake. Come with me right now. He grabbed her hand, pulling her back through the party. Guests stared and whispered, but Dominic ignored them, making a beeline for James Holloway. Show me that email right now. James's eyes widened with what looked like genuine surprise. What email? The one you showed Maya, from me to Victoria. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I never showed Miss Chen any email. Maya's head spun. You're lying. 10 minutes ago in the study. I've been on the main floor all evening. I haven't spoken to you once tonight, Miss Chen. Security footage. Snapped Dominic at his assistant. Pull up the study camera from the last 30 minutes, now. They crowded around a laptop as the footage loaded. Maya watched herself enter the study, alone, talking to empty air, holding up her own phone, reading something on her screen with growing horror, then letting it drop. "That's impossible," Maya whispered. "He was there. James was standing right—" "It wasn't James," a new voice said. They all turned to find Victoria Ashford standing behind them, flanked by 2 security guards. But it wasn't Victoria who'd spoken. It was the man beside her, someone Maya didn't recognize until he smiled with cruel satisfaction. "Hello, Dominic. Long time no see." Dominic's face went deadly pale. "Marcus." "Your half-brother," Victoria clarified sweetly. "The one your father cut out of the will because his mother was unsuitable. The one you've systematically destroyed every time he tried to build something of his own. Did you really think he'd let that go?" Marcus stepped forward, holding up his own phone. "Deep fake technology is remarkable these days. A few doctored emails, a voice modulator, and suddenly I'm your CFO, having a private conversation with your little girlfriend. Sorry about that, sweetheart. Nothing personal. You just happen to be a convenient tool."
"You bastard," Dominic growled, moving toward Marcus, but the security guard stepped forward. Marcus chided. "These gentlemen work for me now. Bought their loyalties same way I bought access to your party and your security systems. Money talks, brother. You taught me that." "Why?" Maya found her voice, though it shook. "Why do all this?" "Because he took everything from me," Marcus snarled, his composure cracking. "My birthright, my father's love, every business venture I started, Dominic swooped in and crushed. So I decided to take something from him for once." His smile turned vicious. "His precious new love, his chance at happiness. I wanted him to know what it felt like to lose everything." "And I helped," Victoria added, examining her manicure, "because 15 years ago, Dominic broke my heart by choosing his empire over me. Seemed only fair he should lose his chance at love again, even if it's with someone so beneath his usual standards." The cruelty in her voice made Maya flinch, but Dominic's hand found hers, squeezing tight. "You failed," Dominic said quietly, his voice deadly calm, "because unlike you, Marcus, I learned that destroying others doesn't build anything real. And unlike you, Victoria, I finally understand that love isn't something you lose, it's something you fight for." He turned to Maya, ignoring everyone else in the room. "I don't care about the emails or the lies or any of this. I care about you, about us. I'm asking you, right here, right now, in front of all these people, will you trust me? Will you believe in what we have?" Maya looked at the ring box still clutched in his hand, at the raw hope and fear in his eyes, at the man who'd somehow become her entire world in 3 impossibly short weeks. 10, 9, 8, the countdown drifted from the main party. "Maya," Dominic whispered, "please." 7, 6, 5. Maya thought about the email that shattered her, the lies designed to destroy them, the manipulation and cruelty of people who saw love as weakness. 4, 3, 2. She thought about Dominic's hands covered in flour in her tiny kitchen, his gentle voice reading to children at Hope House, the way he looked at her like he was his entire universe. 1. Happy New Year! Maya pulled Dominic into a kiss as fireworks exploded over Manhattan, answering his question without words. His arms wrapped around her, lifting her off the ground, and the kiss tasted like salt from their tears and champagne and new beginnings. When they finally broke apart, the study had filled with party guests, security, and Dominic's legal team. Marcus and Victoria were being escorted out by actual police. Apparently, system tampering and fraud were taken quite seriously. "I'm sorry," Maya whispered against Dominic's chest. "I should have trusted you." "You had every reason to doubt,"
he murmured into her hair. Our worlds are different. This was all so fast. But Maya, he pulled back enough to meet her eyes. I meant every word. I want to marry you, build a life with you, if you'll have me. Ask me properly, she said, a trembling smile breaking through her tears. Dominic dropped to one knee right there in his study, surrounded by curious guests and his assistant still holding a laptop showing security footage. He opened the velvet box to reveal a ring that took Maya's breath away, not because of the diamond's size, but because the band was engraved with tiny books. Maya Chen, you crashed into my life on Christmas morning and taught me that love isn't a transaction, it's a transformation. You make me want to be better, softer, more human. You've shown me that the only empire worth building is one filled with kindness and connection and late-night conversations over bad coffee. His voice cracked with emotion. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that what we have is real? Yes, Maya breathed, then louder, yes! The room erupted in applause as Dominic slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her again, deep and thorough and full of promise. From the doorway, Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd apparently been invited as Dominic's surprise, wiped her eyes and whispered to another guest, I told her he looked at her like she hung the moon. The rest of the party passed in a blur of congratulations and champagne. Dominic kept Maya close, introducing her as his fiancée with unmistakable pride. The same people who'd whispered and judged now offered genuine smiles and warm wishes. As midnight turned to 1 a.m., they finally escaped to Dominic's private terrace, wrapped in a cashmere blanket under the stars. I have something to confess, Dominic said, pulling her close. Maya's heart skipped. Please tell me it's not another secret half-brother. He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. No more siblings, I promise, but I may have already purchased the building next to Hope House and hired architects to design an expansion that would triple your capacity. Dominic? Maya swatted his arm, but she was smiling. And I may have established trust funds for every child currently in the program, full ride to any college they get into. You're impossible. And I love you. He kissed her temple. I'm going to spend the rest of my life being impossible with you. Is that okay? Maya thought about everything that had happened, the doubt, the betrayal attempt, the midnight revelation. The journey from that Christmas morning collision to this rooftop engagement was chaotic and terrifying and absolutely perfect. More than okay, she whispered, then pulled him into a kiss that tasted like New Year's and new beginnings and the kind of love that changes everything. Below them, Manhattan glittered like a promise. Above them, stars witnessed their vows whispered in the dark, and between them, something impossible became real. A billionaire and a teacher, building a world where love mattered more than money, and trust was worth more than any empire. The June sun streamed through the windows of Hope House's brand-new community center, the expansion Dominic had funded now complete. Maya adjusted her simple white dress, hands trembling slightly as Mrs. Rodriguez fussed with her veil. Nervous, mija? Terrified, but she was smiling. And so happy. He's going to cry when he sees you, Mrs. Rodriguez predicted. That man cries at everything now. It was true. Dominic had become softer over the past 6 months, more open with his emotions. He'd stepped back from some of his business obligations to focus on the education foundation they'd built together. He'd learned all her students' names. He volunteered at Hope House every Wednesday. He'd become the man he was always meant to be. And Maya? She'd learned that love didn't require you to change who you were. It just required you to be brave enough to let someone in. The music started. Mrs. Rodriguez handed her a bouquet of wildflowers, Dominic's mother's favorite, he told her, and opened the door. The ceremony was small, held in the very center where they'd first found their purpose together. Students from Maya's class served as flower girls and ring bearers. Hope House kids lined the aisle, and at the end, Beneath an arch of books and flowers, Dominic waited in a simple gray suit, tears already streaming down his face. Maya walked toward him slowly, drinking in every detail. This man who'd been alone for so long. This love that had survived lies and doubt and betrayal. This impossible, perfect, real thing they'd built together. When she reached him, he took her hands in his and whispered, "Thank you for crashing into my life. Thank you for not letting me walk away." They said their vows surrounded by children they'd help educate, beneath the roof of the center they'd built together, witnessed by a community they'd created from nothing but hope and love and the determination to prove that different worlds could become one. And when Dominic kissed his bride, the cheers that erupted were louder than any Manhattan gala, more meaningful than any corporate celebration, more genuine than anything either of them had experienced before. Because this messy, beautiful, imperfect, real love was worth more than any empire. So, tell me, what moment touched your heart the most? Was it the midnight proposal? The moment Maya chose to trust love? The wedding at Hope House? Drop your favorite scene in the comments below. And if you loved Dominic and Maya's journey from Christmas collision to wedding celebration, make sure you're subscribed because next week we're diving into a brand new story, The Heir's Secret Wife, about a billionaire who discovers his arranged marriage bride has been living a double life. You will not want to miss it. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and share this video with anyone who loves a good billionaire romance with plenty of heart, betrayal, and redemption. Until next time, remember, true love doesn't require you to change who you are, it just requires the courage to believe you're worth fighting for.